Virginia Governor Terry McAuliffe. Hey, Governor, welcome back to the show. Great to have you with us.
Well, thanks, John. It's great to be with you. Hope you're preparing for the snow.
Snowmageddon, no question. And it's good to have you. And I know that you've made preparations, so hopefully everybody will stay off the roads and be safe, right? That's the main thing. No question.
That's it.
Hey, look, I think you're doing a fabulous job in getting companies to come to Virginia, creating jobs. Your enthusiasm and how you've been able to bring so many in is fabulous. I just got to tell you that I told Mr. Trump the other day you'd make a great Secretary of Commerce in the Trump administration. What do you think?
Well, as you know, I know Donald very well. He actually wrote a big check to one of my campaigns for governor. He was recently in Richmond the other day, and the press asked me, said, I think Terry's a great governor. So I know Donald very well, and I'm on the other side. And but listen, I'm always open to doing whatever I can, John, to help this great country. But you know what? I'm here as governor. I love this job, and I'm not leaving early for anything.
All right, Governor, I want to start with what came out today about a University of Virginia student, Otto Frederick Warmbier from Cincinnati, an undergraduate student in University of Virginia, arrested and detained in North Korea under hostile circumstances. I mean, this is a tough situation. As governor, is there anything that you're able to do in order to get answers or maybe get him out of there?
Well, listen, obviously the State Department will deal with this. I believe he was on a 5-day tour of North Korea,
right?
Part of a touring mission. I'm sure I was just recently over in China. I met with all the UVA students. I asked my folks to find out if he was in the room. I met with him. I'm obviously deep concern on it. Anytime anyone is taken into custody. This is North Korea. We know what we're dealing with here. There are a lot of problems there, but I will be weighing in today to get an update from the State Department on the exact status of our UVA student.
All right. Well, hopefully you'll be on it because it's just a sad situation when this happens.
Yeah.
No question. I want to get to some pressing General Assembly issues, Governor McAuliffe. Start with Virginia's health care system. One of the big issues being discussed now is the certificate of public need. We have some legislators trying to repeal COPM, which some say would weaken the healthcare system. Proponents say it would promote competition. Yet, hospital care is not a free market because hospitals are required by law to give away substantial amounts of free and discounted care in the form of unfunded mandates. COPN seems to be working in Virginia, which has had a lower per capita system of expenses than other non-COPN states. The system also offsets charity care that hospitals have. So it seems to me that this doesn't make a lot of sense. Even the state COPN work group put together by the General Assembly to study the issue said that we should keep it as it is. Now there's some people saying that Republicans are pushing COPN repeal to punish hospitals for backing Medicaid expansion. Do you think that's true? And tell us, where does Governor McAuliffe stand on COPN reform and why?
Well, there is a task force, John, and I'm the one who requested it in the budget. Eva Hardy heads that up, and they literally have been meeting for a year on dealing with this issue. At the overall macro level, of course, I am always for competition. I come from a business background. But on the other hand, also to provide the charitable needs that we have. You have the COPN, you have the provider assessment as well, which is going on. So right now we have a lot of plates spinning over in the General Assembly on health care. So in fairness, I want to find the right balance. I want to do what is the best interest of providing health care. I want to see what bills finally come out. But you did mention the Medicaid expansion. I'm glad you did. I've worked very hard on this issue. I've tried to do it, John, in a bipartisan way. As you know, thanks to the hospitals, they have now stepped up to the plate. For every dollar they put up, they get $7 to $9 back. So this makes interest for them. Obviously, this is important for them. We have 17 of our 27 rural hospitals were operating, John, in the red. I'm very concerned about those, obviously the health care in rural communities. But you as a hospital in a rural community, as you know, they're your biggest employer as well. So the hospitals have stepped up to the plate. So now we have an opportunity to work together. Whether you like health care, whether you like the president, doesn't matter anymore. Supreme Court's ruled it. We have an ability, John, to bring $2.4 billion back, create 30,000 jobs, provide health care for 400,000 folks, save our rural hospitals. And, John, we can do this with no obligation to the state. None, zero. No short-term, no long-term. I come from the school, if you got to pay taxes, I want 100% of my tax money back. And I argue constantly to the federal government. As you know, yesterday, John, I was in your region. We got $120,549,000 yesterday for resiliency to protect, obviously, on the sea level rise. Of all the states, we are the number one state. So I'm a big believer in bringing our money back, and I just would hope we could work this in a bipartisan way. You can hate health care and hate the way the Obamacare and what all the political rhetoric. I can bring $2.4 billion back at no cost to the state. We take all the money we can to build our aircraft carriers, but I'm trying to get the political ideology. I try to operate in the mainstream. I am a very pro-business, fiscally conservative Democrat. I am socially progressive. I always believe government ought to be out of people's personal lives. But I got to tell you, so I want to look at the whole mix when this is all done, John. But I got to tell you, I would like that $2.4 billion back. I can do it with no cost, no short term, no long term. It's good for the hospitals. They can save many of our rural hospitals, and it's just common sense. 31 states. Louisiana just did it. In Kentucky, the Tea Party candidate who just ran and won for governor, ran that he was going to repeal it. Guess what? He got in office and then realized, you know what? I'm not repealing this thing. It works. So the Governor Bevins in Kentucky just went back and said, no, we're going to keep it. Utah, the very conservative, who was a buddy of mine, vice chair of the governors, he's the chair. We switch in July. In Utah, he's pushing for it. Kasich in Ohio. Pence in Indiana, the most conservative governors in America. And this is right for the what I call the shareholders of Virginia, which are the citizens, the taxpayers. They got money. I want it back.
So the hospitals are basically saying they'll pay the 10%, the difference. They'll basically pay it. Republicans are saying, well, that's just a backdoor tax, Medicaid expansion by a separate name. At the end of the day, there'll be an increase in taxes or something. But the hospital is saying, look, we'll pay that. That takes that issue off the table.
Yeah. So, and you're a smart, listen, John, you're a smart guy. Listen to what the hospitals have said they'll pay it. So it's 100% now. We've already forfeited, I don't know, it's $2.4 billion here. We probably already forfeited $6 billion. I don't know the exact number, but that money would have run through our economy. That, I can tell you, some of your hospitals in Hampton Roads are desperate for that money. But they say for every dollar we put up, you know, it's $7 to $9 they get back in return for that. So they say, well, we don't. This is good for the hospitals. I mean, this is why the hospitals are doing it. So if it's okay with the hospitals, why are we arguing here? And it doesn't cost the state a penny. That's why these most conservative governors in America have done it. That's why the Tea Party new governor of Kentucky said, I'm keeping it. Let's get it. Why would we be last? And every day we waste, hospitals are in jeopardy. We can provide health care. And as I say, you can hate the bill. It's the law of the land. A lot of things I don't like the federal government does. But, you know, the law is the law.
Okay, so let's get just back to COPN a minute, which I believe that COPN repeal, and hospitals have obviously stepped up here with the money. COPN repeal, I believe, is really going to put rural hospitals in Virginia at major financial risk. We've already had one shut down in Southwest Virginia. So my question is point blank, if repeal of COPN comes across your desk, will you veto it?
Well, and listen, I got to see the bill, and, you know, nothing's black and white, but I concur with you. I am very concerned about a total repeal of COPN, what it may do to our rural hospitals. I come from a background where I think competition is good, but I need to balance that against the needs of the citizens of Virginia. So if you were to totally repeal, if I got a bill at the end of the day, sitting here today, that's not something I would look kindly at, because I do believe these rural hospitals could be adversely impacted. And in fairness, they've all come in and to talk to me about it. I want to find the right balance. And I do believe we can get to a place that deals. Do we need reforms in COPN? You bet we do. But that's why I asked for this task force. And I'm a big believer, John. When you ask people to spend a year of their lives working on this issue, and as I say, Eva Hardy has headed this up. I'm going to listen to their recommendation, or else why did I go through the effort of having a task force in the first place?
That's exactly what I said. It doesn't make any sense. We have them, we get a recommendation, and then we throw it out the window, so why even have it?
That's right.
Governor, I want to get to Senator Chap Peterson has introduced emergency legislation to ban the GOP loyalty oath on Super Tuesday primary day in Virginia. He says the election is taxpayer funded. Virginia has no party registration by state law, and he says he wants to, quote, save Republicans from themselves. So here's my question. If the senator is able to get 80% of the General Assembly to sign on to the repeal and it hits your desk, will Governor McAuliffe sign it?
Yes. I take the politics out, Democrat, Republican for a second. I've always believed, John, that politics is about addition. And I do agree with Donald Trump on this issue. I mean, and I would say the same on the Democratic side. The more people who want to come in, people don't want to sign oaths on anything. People vote, they may change their mind the next week or whatever. You're entitled to do that. So instinctively, I don't like the idea of loyalty oaths. It smacks me the wrong way. I agree with Donald Trump. I agree with Chap Peterson that, politics is about addition. You want more people voting. And if you get someone to vote in the primary and you can't hold them for the general election, no offense, shame on you. Then obviously your message, your candidate's not working. Don't, make you sign some foolish oath.
I'm with you on that 100%. I think it's a disaster not only for the GOP, but for all Virginians. Sure. People just don't like to sign something. They're going to go in there. They're going to ask for a ballot. They have to be signing things. They don't know what it is. It's only the activists that really understand what this is. I just think it's a horrible idea.
Yeah.
Let's get Governor to guns. Now, you recently banned guns in some public areas in Virginia through executive fiat. Like, for instance, here's where it affected me. The old Richmond City Hall, where I do my show when I'm in Richmond, in David Bailey's office. So I go in there one day, and you've got a sign on the door, and it says, no guns allowed by order of the governor. So I have to go back to my vehicle, go in the parking garage, and drop off my Glock. Then I'm thinking to myself, I'm up there, and I'm not defenseless. I'm defenseless. Like, if somebody's going to come in there to wreak havoc and shoot up the place, they're not going to say, well, look, I can't come into this place because there's a sign on the door from the governor of Virginia. So they come in, they start to shoot. I don't have any way to defend myself or my staff. How does that make me safer?
Yeah, listen, John, when I signed Executive Order number 50, now let's be clear, I stood. This was a law, and I work with law enforcement every time I take action on this. I stood with the head of the state police, the head of the chiefs of police, the head of the sheriff's association, banned him from the office. We just don't need him in the state office buildings. I also said we need to enforce the laws that we have in the books today, which, and I think this, the Republicans always say enforce the laws. We're enforcing the laws. If you have an order on, a domestic abuse or restraining order, you can't purchase a gun, but why should you be able to have a gun at home? If they're worried about you purchasing a gun and doing something, you ought to be worried as well. So I tried to come up with some very common sense things to do on what I call common sense gun restrictions. The biggest thing I advocate for, John, is background checks. As you know, I am a gun owner. I own 3 guns. I love to hunt. I love to take my boys hunting. I went through a background check. It took 3-4 minutes is the max. I just think a simple process. Nobody is taking anyone's guns away. People have just, they get all up on the Second Amendment. Nobody is taking anyone's guns away. It's just a false argument. What we are trying to do is keep guns out of the hands of criminals and domestic abusers. There are some people, John, that I believe rightfully should not own a gun. That's all we're doing. I was out last weekend, a couple weekends ago. I was with my son. He's a Marine. We went to watch a football game. We went to a bar. He had to put his license out to buy a beer. He doesn't have to do that to check to see if he should be able to buy a firearm. So to me, this is a little common sense on background checks. But that's my big issue is background checks. And 85% of Americans support background checks. So this is not some far-off idea. It's common sense. And I just think everybody like myself can go through a quick background check. I'm not trying to stop anyone. If you are a lawful, law-abiding citizen, you can go in and buy whatever you want on your handguns, John. You can do that tomorrow. I'm for that. You buy as many as you want. Fill up your house. I'm fine with that. But you know what? If we can stop a couple folks, those that have a criminal record, then we ought to try to do it. That's, I got to tell you, that's not some, far out space idea. I'm sorry.
Okay, Governor, let's get the jobs in Virginia. You recently went to Cuba on a trade mission. What is your big picture vision for increasing commerce in Virginia with the island of Cuba? Yeah.
Well, the big picture when I talk about diversifying the economy, John, listen, we have been blessed for many years in Virginia. We are the number one recipient of the Department of Defense dollars. Largest naval base in the world. I think it's 27 military installations, the Pentagon, CIA, Quantico, Langley. That's all great when the federal government's spending money. But what occurred to us, before I got here, 11, 12, and 13, we saw $9.8 billion of cuts, most of that in Northern Virginia. I was in Crystal City yesterday. They announced a company I just brought from San Francisco back in there. They have about 15 million square feet vacant because of what happened with defense cuts. This is going to happen to us again, John, in 2 years when sequestration comes back. So what I focus on day in and day out is what I call diversifying the economy. Cybersecurity, data analytics, human genomes, all these 21st century jobs, that's what we need to do. And that's what I focus on. Just yesterday I announced that Shift is coming from San Francisco here. I hopefully will have a major announcement in your region in the next week or two. I've been working very hard. A major announcement for you in the Hampton Roads. This is what I do every day. I believe, and listen, the results speak for themselves. We've done tremendous amount of economic development projects, 565 projects, $9.3 billion, John, of new capital investment. That has shattered every governor's record in the history of Virginia. We're very proud of it. We're just getting warmed up. Cuba, huge opportunity. And in fairness, John, we've been doing business there for 13 years.
Right.
We've done $400 million of ag exports. And we've been doing it for years. I know some people said, the governor's going down to Cuba. We've been there for 13 years, okay? Now I should go because the president last year is moved to normalize relations. It's 11 million people. I think we could take our ag exports up dramatically. I brought 20 business folks with me, aquaculture, wood flooring, all of them negotiating deals in Cuba right now. This is good for the Virginia economy. Canada, we ran into folks in Canada building all these resorts, and Germany and China's there. Every country's there but us, so we ought to be there. We ought to sell at least our ag exports. It's a huge market. And, do the best we can. John, let's be honest. Let's get that Cuban rum here, a couple Cuban cigars. Let's get trade going back and forth. But this is what I have to do. We, did $36 billion trade exports overall. We're doing great. I want our port to be the East Coast capital. We just moved ahead of North Carolina. We were 3, now we're 2. I got my sights on Georgia. They're 1. We need to take Georgia out. We need to obviously sell our ag products. I just got back from Oman and Kuwait, so for the first time, I got the poultry ban lifted. That's great news. I just authorized a new lease for 2 containers of poultry to go to Oman for the first time ever. India, I just went to India. We did a deal on apples for the first time. Virginia apples are being sold in India. This is what you elected me to do. Mm-hmm. Go out, create economic activity, create jobs, and it's important.
Well, look, Governor, you've absolutely done that. You've been a sales machine for Virginia. I love the fact that you're also taking jobs from other states like Georgia. I think that makes a lot of sense, especially in the Southeast Virginia area. We're out of time, sir, in this segment. Heard there might be one more big deal coming down the pike. Can we anticipate something in the next couple of weeks?
I am really hopeful. I'm in lease negotiations. I met with Mayor Frame yesterday, we're hopeful. Listen, until it's done, it's never done. But I feel very good. Listen, the region needs it. We need to diversify, and I feel pretty good. I hope the snow doesn't get in the way of my negotiating here. But listen, you got a snowblower. I'll get a snowblower myself out if I have to come meet with you to close this deal. But we're very close, and I think it's good news. Let me just say as I finish up, please stay off the roads. We've got right now about 13,000 pieces of equipment, 2,500 personnel out there. It is important to stay off the roads. Hampton roads, I think you're going to get rain and some very high winds. But listen, let us do our job. Let us keep these roads, and let's get back on as soon as we can so that people can travel and commerce can continue to move forward.
Governor, we're out of time. Governor McAuliffe, thank you as always for being with us, and close that deal.